Turn to some other big news for the country today. One of the most controversial and least experienced nominees for the FBI was confirmed today, narrowly. The Senate confirming Kash Patel in a nail-biter 51-49 vote. That is because Republican Senators Susan Collins and Murkowski broke with the party, voting no, but in a pattern we've seen, not in a way that endangered the actual Trump cabinet member. Here was some of what we heard.
Kash Patel has shown that his loyalty lies not with the rule of law, but with Donald Trump.
Ms. Patel is a dangerous nomination that will make our country less safe.
We're talking here about a nominee who has an enemies list.
He is a yes man for President Trump.
If your plan is to destroy the rule of law and turn the Department of Justice into a political weapon that rewards loyalty and punishes dissent, then Kash Patel is the perfect person to lead the FBI.
People ask what Democrats are doing these days. That's some of what we're hearing, putting up a fight to the very end, trying to put pressure on this vote, which came down to one vote. Now, the FBI is here. It works alongside the DOJ, where a Trump prosecutor who has represented January 6th defendants says he wants to make inquiries into lawmakers' free speech rights and whether they've said things that he thinks threaten Elon Musk. Meanwhile, a judge did not block Musk's efforts to get into certain federal agencies. So some courts see some of this as lawful. They're trying to be fair and do it case by case. But as I've told you, we are seeing a string of court setbacks or outright losses for Donald Trump when it comes to trying to rewrite the Citizenship Clause of the Constitution. A big loss. 70 lawsuits now are trying to deal with various ripe targets in places that Trump and his team seems to have overstepped. Many executive orders are paused, awaiting further review. And Trump is asking the Supreme Court to help him out of a jam where he got a lower court loss about staffing. Now, what's happening here? I've told you there's a strategy, and I want to quote from someone else who has been tracking similar signals, a veteran federal prosecutor, Ankush Kordori, who notes that Trump is expecting these legal challenges and hopes they can change the longstanding principles of constitutional law with a GOP-stacked Supreme Court. It actually legally makes sense if you want to change the law or move it in a different direction, he writes in a new piece. And so to get into how this works, we are joined by Mr. Kordori, a former federal prosecutor who now writes about law for Politico magazine. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Great to have you. You're diagnosing something we've been reporting on the program. Trump is losing more often and more quickly than in the same first month of his first term and every other modern administration. That looks bad, but you argue could have a purpose because they also want to get past this stage and get help from above. Explain.
Yeah, I think actually the effort to go to the Supreme Court for the case that you just mentioned, the special counsel, head of the Office of Special Counsel, it's very telling, right? Because they want to get these cases to the Supreme Court as quickly as possible, thinking that they will win. But on almost all of these cases, certainly with the firings of things like the inspectors general, the heads of the independent agencies, the effort to segregate, impound, reallocate funds, delete agencies, in the words of Elon Musk, all of these things are violations of statutory law, very clear violations of statutory law. I suspect that they know this. Their defense is going to be that the laws are unconstitutional, that they're unconstitutional infringements on the president's authority, which is an extremely aggressive agenda for anyone, much less this president, to be pushing on the Supreme Court. What he is proposing, when you take it all together.
Let me slow you down. I'm going to slow you down. You're so smart, you're so fast. Just on that stage, before we get to what I think you were going, which is his theories, this is different than not only most presidents, but as I emphasize, even in the first term, they had the more traditional view that losing all the time looks bad. They looked at it also for press and PR. There's all these headlines and discussions of losing. It reminds people of the limits on your power. So to use a sports analogy, we usually think of teams trying to win enough to get to the playoffs. This is a different strategy, right? They're trying to lose a lot and then get the Supreme Court to bail them out. So now please explain to us how that would work on that case you mentioned firing IGs or other such clashes?
Well, the case that they're trying to take to the Supreme Court already, it's not even run through the preliminary stages below. So they're trying to expedite it extremely quickly. And I expect that they're going to attempt to do many of the same things with some of the other lower court decisions, once they get to that position, to move them out of the lower courts and the appellate courts, because not just Trump, but Musk and Vance, they have been trying to discredit these courts. And I think that's because they know that they're going to lose most of these battles, at least at the trial court level, in an effort to get this stuff to the Supreme Court and hope that they change the law radically in the president's favor.
Because honest trial courts apply the law as it is. And only the Supreme Court can honestly change the law.
Yeah, well, look, an honest trial court is going to say, well, you dismissed all these inspectors general, but there's a statute that says you have to give them 30 days notice and you have to explain it to Congress. That's a very clear violation of the statute. Judges are not supposed to be in the business necessarily of holding that statutes are irrelevant or easily or just casually holding that they're unconstitutional.
Yeah. So final question as we run out of time. John Roberts has talked a lot about independence over partisanship. Clarence Thomas used to issue rulings against the encroaching executive powers, seizing the line item veto and other things. What do you think is going to happen? How many of these folks are just going to go full MAGA on the court?
Well, look, I think Trump has a pretty good chance to get something, maybe not everything, he wants in the cases about the firings that may give him more discretion to fire people, including independent commissioners in the executive branch. I think he's going to have a harder time on the efforts to impound funds and to delete agencies, as Elon Musk puts it. And I think for there, you can expect the three liberals to object. And I would think you'd be aiming for Roberts and potentially Barrett to join them, maybe even Kavanaugh. And I think those are the major silos as we're looking at these cases going forward and the implications for the country.